Would you like to see football wherever you are in the world?
With NordVPN, you can get premium protection online and set your location so you never miss a minute of the content you usually enjoy.
Go to nordvpn.com/TSUW to get 72% off a 2-year plan plus 3 additional months absolutely free.
Here we are, it's Hal. Here I am again on my own without Nick for this preview, which is the Blades versus Swansea City, a beautiful downtown Bramall Lane. This is a 3 p.m. kickoff on Saturday, storms permitting. Want to give a shout out to all our members, as we like to do at the start of each and every one of these. So thank you if you are supporting the channel. It's really easy to do. If you're on YouTube, you can literally hit the join button, which is right next to where you see subscribe, and you will be supporting this channel. All that we do, all our running costs, and honestly, we appreciate it so much. Let's begin, before we get into Swansea, by looking at the last game. Hull, I would say frustrating is the word I would use for this one. I had a cracking view, Bramall Lane upper, but not of a great game. The Blades dominated possession. They had more big chances, but we really lacked that cutting edge. And ultimately, Hull was fairly dull. It was a forgettable match. The Hull City supporters seemed particularly pleased with the result. They let off a flare or two as the match kind of pitted out towards the 90. And Hull City came with a game plan. 𝐍𝐸𝐿𝐵𝐍, the manager, knew exactly what he was doing. They time wasted from the off, and the referee didn't exert discipline, which allowed a really scrappy game to continue in that manner for far longer than it should have. Check out Nick's excellent summation of the game on this very channel in his match reaction. No one gets a match reaction out faster. That, my friends, is fact. But yeah, not too much to say on that game because it was a bit poo. Looking at the last time we played Swansea at the Lane, so not in the league this season, because of course that was also a 0-0, but the last time United faced Swansea at Bramall Lane, we have to go all the way back to the start of the season in 2018, and the Blades took the lead after 62 minutes when George Baldock fired in after Enda Stevens' cross. Ollie McBurney, playing for Swansea, equalised as he smashed home a rebound on 71 minutes. And substitute for the Swans, Jan Danda, scored with his first touch in league football as Swansea came from behind to win 2-1. This was then Swans manager Graham Potter's first game in charge, and also first win. I remember that game, and I thought we were going to kick off and start that season so strong. Really frustrating one. Let's hope for better this Saturday. And with that in mind, let's look at team news, and I'll also give you Nick's predicted lineup. So still out, we know Enda Stevens with his calf injury. Ben Osborne, a week or so away from being back on the grass. Never heard that term so much as I have this season. Paul Heckingbottom gave an injury update on Jayden Bogle. He said, this is a quote, "He's got an issue with his knee that will manage between now and the end of the season, game to game. He's had a scan. We know the problem. We're confident we'll get him through to the end of the season and keep him involved." We also know there will be no David McGoldrick or, of course, Jack O'Connell long term. Interesting to see that on loan midfielder Luke Freeman is now confirmed out for the season at Millwall. You might think this is not good news, really, for us. I mean, if there was any chance of doing anything with Luke Freeman, it's gone now. His contract will just come to an end and he will be released. So I think personally that's not ideal. You maybe have wanted one or two clubs to be interested in him just for the lad, if nothing else. Rhian Brewster is also long-term, and he was told that non-invasive treatment options were available for his hamstring injury. We now know not a repeat of the previous hamstring injury he had earlier in the season. Just bad luck. I think it would have increased the chances of him playing again this season, but he's decided to have an operation to permanently cure the issue. And I don't blame the lad at all for doing that. You only need to look at Jack O'Connell to see examples of why he might have made the right choice there. Also hearing as well that Ollie Burke, also on loan at Millwall, has picked up an injury. And again, that one's even worse because for us, we've got another year with Ollie Burke. And it does make sense financially for the Blades, for Ollie Burke to do well, for him to be in that shop window, either for Millwall or another side if he's injured. That's not going to happen, and then he'll just come back to the Blades. But, off the back of an injury-plagued season, that's not ideal for anyone. Sheffield United youngster 𝐍𝐸𝐫𝐝 is training with the first team ahead of the Blades game against Swansea. He's 17 years old, signed from Arsenal in the summer. He's played 9 times for our under-23. He's got 1 assist, 13 times for the under-18s. He's got 4 assists there and 7 goals. I do think he could be really exciting, even if it's just on the bench to get a taste of first team action in around it. It could be good for his development. Let's move on to the predicted team. Going to put it on screen as selected by Nick. So as you know, formation-wise, it's kind of fluid. We've put Ndiaye up top with Sharp, but realistically, it's more like Ndiaye next to Morgan Gibbs-White with Sharp. But at times, it can become very, very different with sometimes 3 going up there. Wes in goal, I mean, there's no question about that. Bash, who I thought had an indifferent game on Tuesday night. John Egan, Jackie Longthrow going to keep that position there at that left centre-back. I thought he was very good in that previous game. Reece Norrington-Davies, I've said it since the start of the season. I remember saying to Nick when we were away at Luton, 2 of us standing behind the goal, I said to him at the end of that game, Norrington-Davies can defend. He's not great going forward. I wanted to be wrong about that, but I have to maintain that is how I still feel about him. Baldock, obviously, he's going to be in for Bogle for the time being. There are other options, but I think Baldock will be the one. Hourihane and Norwood, personally, this is what Nick has gone with. Remember, this is his team rather than mine. I think they're quite similar, but they do play well together. However, away from home, that is when I would go with those 2 over everything else. So Huddersfield, when we saw Fleck and Sander Berge in the middle, that's when I'd have gone with Hourihane and Norwood. At home, when you need to force the issue, perhaps not always necessary. But I do believe that Nick is correct with this one. He's gone with McBurney being dropped and Billy coming back in. Let me know in the comments what you actually think about that one. I think what Nick has picked here is actually quite likely to be the lineup. But we shall see. I don't necessarily agree. I would personally, I'd probably stick with it as it was. Let them all get used to that team. It's got more long-term potential. Billy's brilliant. We've got to remember we can't keep relying on him. So I think we do need to shuffle the pack every now and again. And I thought on paper it looked pretty good. Now, the opposition 11, it's Russell Martin's side, Swansea City. They're 16th in the Championship. They're 17 points clear of the relegation zone. They're 11 points away from the playoffs. It's mid-table mediocrity, slightly below mid-table. They've got the highest average possession in the league. We know from that first game, that 0-0 at Swansea, they like to pass it. They like time on the ball. They're a slow side. They are not an attractive side to watch. They're the only side in the Championship without a set-piece goal this season. They have the lowest XG from set pieces. No real surprise. We always talk at this section about whether teams press or not. Teams that don't tend to press helps the Blades. We've seen that example time and time again this season. Swansea do press, but they are bottom 3 for high turnovers, resulting in a shot. I think a frustrating and defensive game unless the Blades score early. For me, the first 20 minutes of this game are absolutely crucial. We know, and we're going to talk about a little bit later, Kyle Norton. He's not featured since the beginning of this month and probably going to remain absent. This is apparently 1 game too soon for Kyle, along with new signing Nathaniel Ogbeta, who's yet to make an appearance for the Swans. He's likely to be out, but then again, they could throw him in just as a surprise, keep everyone on their toes. Striker Pyru, who I thought looked really good earlier on in the season, ended his 7-game goal drought by netting last time. He's likely to be named in that starting 11. Jamie Patterson is their star player, the former Bristol City man. So I am saying a possible starting lineup for the Swans of Fisher, Burns, Cabango and Manning, then Wolf, Grimes, Downs and Christie, with Patterson and Pirot feeding Obafemi. I'd also like to just take a moment to tell you about an applause for Tom Collier, who was a lifelong Blade and a popular local footballer who tragically lost his life earlier this month. Tom was just 24, and as a token of appreciation for Tom, his family and friends would appreciate a minute's applause on the 9th minute against Swansea. I will, of course, be partaking in this. Tom was a player who wore the number 9, so that is why the 9th minute has been selected there. I will, as I say, be honouring this, and I hope those attending will too, from both the Blades and Swansea sides of the ground. Let's go into score prediction. Normally it's myself and Nick bouncing off each other as we tend to agree on a Blades win that inevitably doesn't come. 0-0 is what you would say if you were looking at the way these two sides play, as we did at their place earlier in the season. Two sides that keep the ball, but aren't always that lethal with it. I'm going to have to go 0-0 again, much as I don't want to. The referee for this one is David Webb from County Durham. He's taken charge of 25 games this season in all competitions, issuing 96 yellows, 3 reds, and he's given 6 penalties, which is quite a lot for referees we've looked at this season. He also refereed our 2-2 draw away at Preston, a game that still, despite the good run, makes me come out in a cold sweat, because that was absolutely 2 points dropped. We're going to move straight on to player connections. I already mentioned Kyle Norton, who was a right back, who then was forced to kind of play left back when he was with United. So Kyle Norton is our first player connection, and you can see him there on the left, Bobby in the background, who's with us again today, doing fantastic work with the graphics. I loved that shirt, although the neck did not suit me at all. He's had a really decent career. I kind of thought when he initially left the Blades, he would stay in and around the Premier League for a long time because of the two Kyles. When they first burst onto the scene, I kind of thought Kyle Norton was going to be the better one, and so did Tottenham, because they spent the bulk of their money when they nabbed both of them from us on Kyle Norton. He went to Spurs in 2009 after playing for the Blades for really just one season, 40 games, 1 goal for United. After Tottenham, it was Middlesbrough, Leicester, Norwich, and he stayed at Swansea for the bulk of his career since 2015, 222 league appearances with 5 goals. But as I say, unlikely that he will feature in this one. And we're only going to go with 2 player connections from now on. The other one, very attractive man, Leon Britton, good height for a man as well. I mean, let's be honest, there's a similarity, right? And I also met him and got a photo with him as well. He was a really, really nice chap, and I thought was going to be a sensational signing for Sheffield United. And in many cases, I thought similar to, but didn't know it at the time. But since I think back, Oliver Norwood. So many similarities in their style of play. Initially came through the Arsenal youth setup, then the West Ham youth setup, then went on loan at Swansea to get his first taste of league football back in 2002. Made 25 appearances for the Swans, initially on loan. They liked what they saw. They signed him permanently. He then played 270 league games. They then brought him back after his brief spell with the Blades for another 166. So he really is synonymous with Swansea, and still to this day, incredibly popular. Also became captain with Swansea. But in that spell, 2010 to 2011, only 24 league appearances, and apparently the style just didn't really suit him, he was to say later. And I think we could all, as Blades, tell. Just didn't work out for whatever reason. Leon Britton, possibly because he didn't like the ball soaring over his head under Kevin Blackwell. I'd also like to just take a moment to mention Billy McEwan, who was Blades manager from 1986 to 1988. He sadly passed away today at the age of 70. He has been battling Parkinson's disease, also very popular as a manager of York City. I met him when he was manager of York. He was an incredibly kind man. He told me some funny stories about his time with the Blades. We here at the Sheffield United Way would like to send our condolences to his family and friends. And I want to thank all of you for joining me for this preview. And before we go, thank Zoe, who's, I'm just going to show this on screen, Zoe Ellison, who gave me this book. Please do support Zoe's fabulous work. So just check her out online. But Zoe Ellison did this one Saturday, 3 p.m., which is all about following the Blades. And I just think that the artwork, the illustrations are incredible and definitely do deserve support. So yeah, search her out online, have a little look at what she does, because I think it's well worth supporting. And she's a Blade, as am I, and as are you. Thanks for watching, and we will be back tomorrow. Nick will be doing his match reaction.